everybody, welcome to Easter Jeep Safari 2025. And here's the thing about Easter Jeep Safari. We often profile some really cool concepts that usually don't make it into production. But Dad, look at this. We got a window sticker.
Yeah, this is the new Wagoneer Series 2 Overland 4x4, as it says on the window sticker.
That's right, this is a world debut of a new product, and in today's video, not only is it a world debut, we're actually going to drive it over some Moab slick rock and talk about our initial impressions.
Yeah, so let's talk about the competitors of this, because this is becoming quite the crowded field, these three-row, let's call them expedition type vehicles.
Well, you've got vehicles like the Ford Expedition, which have been available in off-road trims. Same thing with the Chevrolet products like the Tahoe and like the Suburban. And then of course you've got things like the Sequoia, which have a TRD Pro version. But for the longest time, Jeep had the Wagoneer, and being an off-road brand, they didn't really have a lot of off-road gear until just right now.
Now this is a limited production, Tommy. They're only building 2,000 of these, and at the end of the video, we'll tell you how much this costs. But let's kind of show them what makes this perfect for here in Moab.
Well, it's as perfect as you're going to get in a massive three-row B. So up front, we do have functional recovery points. So you're going to notice these black guys pointed out in the front. Now, I'm sure they would work better if they were orange or red. So, you know, that's a little bit of a demerit, but no, all kidding aside, it's great that we have recovery points, and we also have a full complement of skid plates. So we have front differential, we have transfer case, and we have fuel tank skid plates.
Yeah, and I think that's important, because if you are going to come out here and you decide to do a little bit of more rock crawling than just, you know, slick rock driving, you're going to want protection underneath. What about the wheels and tires?
Yeah, so we've got a Falcon off-road tire here. Now, this is what I would call like a mild terrain. So it's a Falcon AT3WA. So it's not like a crazy AT4W, but it still is a lot better than a standard all season. And it's mounted on a 20-inch wheel. So now granted, the Grand Wagoneer can get huge wheels with little thin tires. At least we have some meat on this. And it also has 4-corner quadrilift air suspension, so you can raise it up to the off-road height.
Now, I am not loving those side steps. I get why it has them, because it is a tall vehicle, but out here, those would be better as rock rails as opposed to side steps.
You also notice we have a black roof here, right? With integrated crossbars, which is going to be part of this Overland spec. And this is a Series 2 Wagoneer. You can get the higher end versions as well, or the lower end versions. This is kind of in the middle. And then as we make our way around to the back, one thing which I'm very surprised about, this is our first look ever. We came out here and they said, we've got a new car, let's go film it. It doesn't have any Overland badging. So look, if you get a Z71, you got the Z71 on the seats and on the pillars and on the back. Same thing with the TRD Pro, it looks very different. This is a little under the radar and a little subtle.
All right, well, let's see how much room there is behind the third row. This is always kind of the Achilles heel of these vehicles, right? Because you can either have people or things, but that's not bad actually. I think you can get a couple rollerboards in here.
For sure, yep, 100%. And as you mentioned, it is a proper three-row. We do have the ability to power fold the three-row as well. Just push the button. It's going to fold down the headrest automatically, and now you've got a much extended space back here. This front seat's in the way a little bit.
Hey, which of us is going to get in that third row? Are you going to?
Yeah, I'll do it this time.
Are you going to do it this time, or let your old man do it?
I'll do it.
We have to do a thorough review, Tommy, so here, why don't you get in the back and see how much room there is?
All right, here I go. So it is a one push button. Actually, tons of room back here. And then there's a little tiny second sunroof with the shade back here for third row occupants. But my favorite feature is you can actually electrically recline the third row, and there are air vents back here with power ports.
Yeah, right there, USB power and USB-C, I believe, power ports. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, very cool.
I think, you know, like I said, we'll let you know how much this costs, but you get a lot of vehicle here for, you know, not horrendous amounts of money, as is the case with most new vehicles these days. All right, let me close this up and we'll pop the hood and we'll look what's under the hood, huh?
Yep, sounds good. What about the back seats here?
All right, try the back seat.
Let me move my little camera bag here. So tons of rear seat space, as you'd expect in a Wagoneer. It does have a 3-abreast seating, so no captain's chairs here. And then we do have a third row of climate control back here with outboard heated seats, and then USB-A and USB-C rear ports. Lots of space back here, and then you see that full panel sunroof.
You know, the one criticism I've always had of the Wagoneer, it's a bit of a behemoth, right? This is a big vehicle, but it does pay off with
interior space. Yeah.
Whoa, whoa.
Don't fall over there, Dad.
Almost fell over. Hi, guys.
All right, let's pop the hood here.
I think underneath there, You will not find a Hemi, Tommy.
No, so Wagoneer came out right a few years ago with the 6.4, and now it's transitioned to the Hurricane. So 3-liter inline six. This is the twin turbo.
Look at that. You think that was added recently?
That's pretty cool.
Designed in Michigan, born in America.
I like that. Yeah, very interesting.
I wonder if the manual tells you what percentage of parts are made in America. We'll have to look.
We'll check that out. Yeah, very important. But inline six Hurricane engine, right? Really proven itself to be very smooth and pretty powerful. Competition, right? The Sequoia's got a twin turbo V6. Same thing with the Ford. You've got the V8 still in the Chevy and GMC products. This is kind of the inline six.
You got the Monroe in your pocket?
Yeah, no, it's in the car.
See what the fuel economy is and see what percentage of parts are made in America now that that has become a thing, unfortunately.
So this is 19 mpg.
Yeah.
16 city 23 highway. Final assembly is in Flint.
Yeah.
Or sorry, Warren, Michigan. Engine is manufactured in Mexico. Transmission is USA.
62%.
So pretty high as cars go. It's actually pretty.
That's U.S. Canadian part content combined.
Sure.
Plus 28% in Mexico. I have no idea how they're going to tariff this, but it's not going to be simple.
Well, let's hop on the inside.
Yeah.
And talk about some of the changes.
All right. How about this? Let's show them what it looks like to drive out here. So I'll drive it, and then you film me, and then you hop in with me, and we'll take it down to where we started.
Now, if you note, this car kind of looks like it's on its tippy toes, and that's because we've got the Quadralift air suspension in one of the upper heights. And Wagoneers, kind of like Grand Cherokees, have a bunch of different four-wheel drive systems available. This one does have a low range, which I think is awesome. So there it goes, my daddy's maneuvering down the rock. There you can see the weight of the Wagoneer kind of lugging itself down the slick rock.
That's always scary when you're kind of going, you know, parallel to the fall line.
It's great though that we actually have a good set of tires on this. I always hate when they do a quote off-road pack and they've got street all seasons on it, but here we've got at least a decent set of all-terrains. Dad, stop for a sec.
You got it.
I want to see if this has the, if it's got a full-size spare. All right, poking my head under. It is a spare. It doesn't look like it's a matching spare though.
Wah, wah, wah. And the reason I say
Here I
wah,
come.
wah, wah, Tommy, is because you want a full-size spare that matches. So if you're out here and you get a flat or you roll a bead, you have a tire that then is capable of going off-road. So it's nice when they have a full-size spare that matches the other ones.
Let's check out the off-road gear here, Dad. So one of the cool things, Auto Sport Snow, Sand, Mud, and a rock setting, which we'll talk about what that does in a second. There we've got our suspension height ability, right? There is our low range activation, and here is our kind of select progress control, which is like off-road cruise control.
I gotta tell you, I am impressed by one thing now. As you know, we're kind of, we kind of got the Land Rover sickness, and we have had a few too many of them. And one of the things that if you have a Defender, for instance, with air suspension that happens is when you jack it up to its full height, you lose any suspension compliance. And this, even though it's, you know, jacked up, still is very comfortable. Not a lot of head bob. I could actually off-road this without worrying about, you know, my back, which is bad.
Yeah, so you can start topping out these air suspensions where you run out of down travel, which is what we were experiencing earlier today with our Discovery coming out here. But this is doing pretty good.
Yeah, it's really surprisingly good. And look, this is a big old behemoth, right? And I have to say, it's
left here.
Very heavy, and it's very bulbous in some ways, but it is surprisingly nimble off-road. So I am surprised. I was expecting to be...
Should I film this on the outside here?
Yeah, you want to film it on the outside?
Yeah, might as well.
Might as well. Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah.
What's cool about this is usually, so this car is being revealed in New York as we speak, but they're not doing this in New York.
No, they're not, Tommy.
Heck no. So it's pretty cool to have a reveal and then a little bit of slick rock action in one video. That's very cool. Nice, just cleared the running board. That was cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
All right, I'm gonna hop on in here.
Hop on back in. So what I was saying before you hopped out was that these things are kind of big old gals, you know, but it's surprisingly nimble off-road actually. I feel like I have a lot more control than I was expecting to. Let's face it, weight, just like in any kind of motorsports, is the enemy of performance, even off-road performance.
Yeah, that's true.
And this thing does really well. I like it, Tommy. And let's talk about the price because, look, Wagoneers, Grand Wagoneers, they can get up over $100,000. But this special edition is somewhat, and I say that with air quotes, affordable.
Somewhat. Yeah, so there you can see it's a Series 2. There's that name of the package, the Overland package, but it's actually part of the customer preferred package 25P, which is $5,795. And it gives you the tow hooks, it gives you the all-terrain tires. It also gives you some cool stuff here, the electronic rear limited slip differential, so it can have some torque distribution back there. 2-speed automatic traction control, and then you got the skid plates. We got front axle, fuel tank, transfer case, and heavy-duty engine cooling, and the total is
$75,000.
$77,320.
Well, plus destination, and look at the destination. That's quite shocking.
$2,000 destination.
Yeah, the manufacturers have recently decided that another way to, well, let's say pad the Monroney is to increase the destination cost.
Yeah, that's
What once
true.
upon a time was $900 is now $2,000, and that's just basically the cost that it takes to transport the vehicle from the factory to your dealer. I believe that should be included in the price of the vehicle, but hey, that's the way the world works.
So look, I think they've done a lot of good stuff in this vehicle. I like the rear diff. It's very cool. I like the skid plates and the tires. It's missing the pop though with design. So, you know, it's got the tech, but then where's like the cool graphics or the stripes or what? It needs a little bit more to let your neighbors know that you bought something that's not just a standard Wagoneer.
I'm going to go with I'm pleasantly surprised by what they did with this. I was expecting this kind of behemoth of a Wagoneer that I'd have to very gingerly pilot off-road, and yet I feel like it's actually very capable. So I think that this does have the Jeep DNA, and I feel like they did a really good job with this. Now, why don't you show them some of the concepts that are going to be over at TFL Off-Road if you guys are interested in Jeep concepts, because we're here basically driving one of these per day. So over the next several days, we'll be publishing them, and there's some out there right there.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's a J6 two-door Gladiator. There's a Honcho concept. We've got the bug out concept. So all of these are going to be over at alltfl.com. You can check them out there. But this is just our first look at a production vehicle.
Tommy, I like it.
I like it too. It's pretty cool.
All right, we'll see you next time. Ciao.